The zoo's really grown tremendously. I mean, there's a lot of new things happening at the zoo. For those of you who aren't familiar, I know when I walked in, they say Ron McGill from Metro Zoo. That's something I still say all the time, Metro Zoo, but it's now Zoo Miami. We had the big branding logo change back in 2010 for the 30th anniversary of the zoo. And they came up with the Zoo Miami, changed the logo. The old logo was a little bit complicated, a little bit dated. What we tried to do is come up with something that kind of encompassed all the things that people like. You know, for instance, we've got the mammal and the monkey. We also have a mammal and a rhinoceros, but we have the reptile there and the crocodile or alligator, and we have the bird and the flamingo. We've got the colors, which are blue for the ocean and sky, brown for the soil, for the earth, and green for the leaves and the trees. So that's all in there, and also that blue and green are the same colors of the Parks Department, which we are part of, Miami-Dade County Parks and Open Spaces. So that's how they came around with the logo, something to be a little bit more attractive, I guess, to the general people, especially kids, something a little bit more palatable for kids. Sign in front. Finally got the sign in front. I think one of the biggest complaints we had for so many years is we used to just have this big concrete thing that said Metro Zoo there. And people would drive by it day after day after day. You'd see it all the time. If you stayed on 152nd, you see people drive, they always have to make the U-turn because they missed the turn in. So we got the big complaint. Well, we finally built this sign up there. It's hard to miss, I'll say that about it. It's got a nice LED sign in the front which enables us to give a lot of good free advertising. You know, if anybody's been on 152nd during rush hour, it is just chock full of traffic. So it's an easy way for us to get out and publicize what's happening in the zoo, and we do it pretty well. We've had a lot of births over the last year, a lot of births and hatchings. We've had the flamingos hatch out. It's great to watch these animals start hatching out, grow up, and get integrated into the thing. The great thing about going to the zoo is watching these animals being born. I mean, we have people who are members, and I tell people all the time, the greatest thing you can do if you like the zoo is become a member of the Zoological Society of Florida, because it's the best deal in town. I mean, if you go to the zoo more than twice a year, it pays for itself without not even counting all the other benefits that you have. So I strongly encourage you, if you live by the zoo, you're going to be there more than twice a year, get a membership, go as many times as you want, free all year long, and it's fantastic. You can watch animals get born, you watch them grow up, you watch them bond with their moms. You know, these are actually Somali wild ants. This was funny, you know why? Because when these guys were born, we were one of the first zoos to breed them in captivity here. It was a big news thing. And CNN came down and interviewed me, and I thought I was just going to try to see if I could get away with something. And they aired this because they asked me, they said, so how do you feel about this? And I have said all the time, and I said on camera, I tell people all the time, if you want to see the cutest little ass in all of South Florida, you want to come to Miami. You want to come to the zoo here. Okay, and they aired that. They actually aired that. Miami, come to the zoo, Miami. So it's great to watch these guys, when they're born out there in captivity. That's their world. They have a lot of fun watching them run around. That's the great thing about the zoo. You know, anybody who's been to older zoos, you understand that animals in small cages, small enclosures, pacing back and forth. You don't really see that at Zoo Miami. You see animals out there having a blast. One of the most significant births we've had in the last, I would say 20 years was the birth of our giant otters. We've had not only 1, 2, but 3 litters of giant otters. We are one of only 4 zoos in the country that have these animals in captivity, and we are only one of 2 zoos in the country that are now breeding them in captivity successfully. It's great when we first put them out in the exhibit because, people don't realize they have to be taught how to swim. They have to be convinced to go in the water, and instinctively they're afraid to get to the water. The mother has to call them, and they sit back and they go, no, I'm not going in, no, I'm not going in. Mother calls them, and they're like, no, I'm not going in. They're screaming for their mom, and it's really fun to watch them, and then the mom finally kind of throws them in the water. And she actually helps them swimming around. She'll grab, and they're holding on to mom like, no, I'm going to drown, and mom sits there, and it's really fantastic to watch because she will sit there and she'll encourage them, she'll get it, and they learn how to swim. And it's really a rewarding thing when you can go to the zoo and you can watch these animals literally grow up in front of your eyes. Grow up, learn how to swim, learn how to enjoy their environment. This was the single greatest birth that we've had at the zoo in my entire history, which is the history of the zoo, basically, because I've been there for 34 years. This was our first ever greater Indian rhinoceros birth. And it happened a year and a half ago now. She's doing very well, but it was a huge milestone when this animal was born. I was very lucky to be there just a few minutes after she was born. This is the first pictures taken as she was standing. Here she is, a little confused because she's trying to find a nipple on the shoulder of her mother, trying to get some milk there. But just an absolutely precious little baby. It's about 100 pounds at birth. And again, the first successful reproduction of the greater Indian rhinoceros. And these are animals, folks, that are highly, highly endangered. Rhinos and elephants have suffered the greatest persecution in the history of their existence over the last 2 years. in the wild for their horn and for, of course, the tusks in the elephants. But it's been really successful with her. And being a female, she's really valuable now. I know us guys don't like to hear this very much, but in the zoo world, females are much more valuable than males. Because you can put one male with a ton of females, and he'll service all the females. But each female represents one new baby. You see, so those females are, generally speaking, much more valuable within the zoo world. So when you get something like a female rhino, we're ecstatic. This is absolutely one of the cutest little babies I've ever seen. Pygmy hippopotamus. You know, you think of hippos as kind of big, but the pygmy hippo is a smaller version, but when they're born, they look adorable. They look like little footballs when they're born. Look at the mother there. I mean, it's hard to imagine that this perfect little replica of the mom comes out and the way she gently cares for it. But these are real special moments that I get to get behind the scenes there right after birth, and I get to kind of document this bonding moment that goes on. Warthogs, not as cute, I don't think, as the hippo, but still pretty interesting to watch, and they're very full of themselves. A lot of you might not realize this. You know, warthogs, people always go and they go, oh, Pumbaa from Lion King. The reality is that our zoo served as one of the models for the movie Lion King. I worked with those animators way back, whenever that was, '89, whenever the Lion King came out. We used all the animals. I worked with them. And if you ever watched Lion King, if anybody who ever watches the credits at the very end, we get a very special credit for our help in the making of the Lion King. So that's a nice little feather in our cap. I didn't know at the time how big that film was going to be. I mean, they came to me, Disney, I had met a couple of the animators and some trips up there. They came and said, you know, when we're talking about doing this film, we're going to make it kind of Hamlet. The film is basically the story of Hamlet using animals. Using the animals of the African planet. I said, sure, I'll help you out, we'll do it. And I worked with those guys for a couple of weeks, and it all turned out really great. We've had several giraffe born at the zoo. This year we had, I think, our 38th giraffe born in captivity at the zoo. And watching giraffe being born is such a great experience, because, you know, females don't lay down to give birth. The baby falls about 4 to 6 feet to the floor. That head first, blam, falls 4 to 6 feet on the floor. It's a fantastic experience. Here's another baby newborn just looking for the nipple. You know, that's what they do. And then to watch them run, when they get out on that exhibit, you know, the great thing again about our zoo is that we have such huge open air exhibits. You have animals in natural family groups, natural herds, and you see them running like they would in the wild. And it's really fun because they're so uncoordinated when they're first born. They're like off to the side, kicking and falling. But when they get going, boy, they can fly. They are just really beautiful, beautiful animals to watch. And again, enough can't be said. New additions that we had this past year are this new pair of clouded leopards. This is kind of the modern day version of the saber-toothed tiger. They have the longest canine teeth of any cat relative to its size in the world, and they are beautiful cats. Not a very large cat, very short legs, very long, thick tail, because they're arboreal. They pretty much spend their time up in the trees hunting birds and things like that. Again, they don't get much to be about over 30, 35 pounds, but they are beautiful. That's the female there. That's the male, not very happy with me in the enclosure. Female again. They're just, you can see here, if you look at the bottom, his canine teeth are so long, they create protrusions in the bottom lip there. See, they go all the way down into the bottom lip. Really fantastic looking animal to observe. We've come up with several different types of amenities for the public now that have really been tremendously successful. You know, the zoo is a big zoo. And that's kind of a double-edged sword for us, because on one side you got this great big zoo where the animals have these great big areas where they can wander, but then the second thing, it's about 3 miles if you walk every walkway and path within the zoo. That's a lot of walking, especially this time of the year. The fortunate thing about our zoo is we're flat. You know, if anybody's been like to the San Diego Zoo, that's built into the side of a mountain. You're going up and down hills all the time. It's really beautiful, but it can be a bit of a task to walk that entire thing. So that's why they have their double-decker buses and stuff that go up and down. But our zoo, we were able to get these bicycles. And I'll tell you how this worked. I want to be really honest with you because it's really kind of funny. We had a vendor come in there and do this. I want to do the bicycle. Oh, okay. They said, you know, I said, okay, we'll give him a chance. Let's see if that works. No skin off our back. He's taking all the risk. Well, it got so successful that as soon as it was time to renew his contract, they didn't renew it. They said, no, you're done. Let's buy the bicycles ourselves and we'll do it so we get all the profits. See, these bicycles cost about $2,000 a piece. They're made in Italy. We bought, I think it's like 250 of them. And within the first 6 months, they paid for themselves. It's unbelievable how popular these bicycles are. They call them the safari cycles. They come in 2 different sizes. You can pack your kid in the front. You can put stuff on top of the bicycle. You got a 4-seater there, and you can take the stroller and go around. And it's just a fantastic way to enjoy the zoo. We've got misters now throughout the zoo. Again, these are the things that you realize maybe sometimes afterwards. They weren't part of an original master plan, but as you see people going through it, you realize, gosh, we've got to have some type of cooling off mechanism to make people more comfortable, and they love it. We just opened this past year this wonderful water park. I got to tell you something, folks. For kids, it is the #1 hit. It's almost standing room only out there at this time of year. You go out there, and it's all included. Once you get into the zoo, that's not an extra charge. And as a member, it's no charge at all because you're for free and it's free. Okay, so you go in there, we have the whale tail, you have all kinds of different water things, and kids have a blast there. Right now, I can tell you, every day that is packed. Camps from all over South Florida going to the zoo, and they just come in their babies. I'll tell you, some kids don't even go to look at the animals. Some kids go just to go to this park. Okay, and have fun there. There's a dry side, there's a wet side, and kids just love it. They have an absolute blast with this water out there. It's the perfect time of year. And then there's the dry side. It's all cushion deck type of a playground. And again, this is important. You know why? Because it gets kids outside. We're giving them some physical activity. We've got to get these kids away from the front of the television sets, away from the flipping video games, and away from just, this mind death of these electronics that are in front of them. Kids got to get outside again and start enjoying the outside, and the zoo's trying to stimulate that a little bit. And it's great for parents, because parents come in there, and there are times you just want your kids to just burn off every calorie they can, so when they get home, they go to sleep, and then the parents can do what they really want to do. And again, there's all kinds of exercise activities for them out there. We've also introduced 2 mascots, trying to brand the zoo with a mascot type of motif where we have Gigi and Kaz. Gigi's the giraffe, Kaz is the rhino, and then on top of the rhino you see that little bird, he's Pio, but that's kind of a joke because that's really just kind of like the styrofoam thing. I find it hard to give personality to a styrofoam thing on top of a rhino that doesn't move. But anyway, they're very popular. Kids seem to enjoy them, and we've been making a very concerted effort to try to brand these things. We're sending them out to schools, we send them out to different types of events, and they're actually starting to pick up a little notoriety. We also open, one of the things we realize also is you got to have interactive experiences at the zoo. It can't just be going to the zoo, putting your hands behind your back and looking at an animal on exhibit. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but you have to integrate it with some things that get a kid's attention and that enable them to just actually have an interactive experience with an animal. We do that somewhat in the children's zoo. You go into the wacky bar and pet some animals and stuff, but we want a little bit more. So we've got now this wonderful thing, this aviary you go into, the parrot feeding adventure, where you can go in there and these parakeets will come in and you will have them fly right up to you with cockatiels and rosellas, and you can hand feed them, and it's a fantastic experience because kids get to have these animals come fly, make the direct contact with them. It's that great thing. It's some great photo ops with that whole 9 yards. I mean, I see the kids' faces. They just light up when they go in there and they have these birds kind of fly out. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get that interactive experience where kids learn. A problem I'm having today, when you're looking at television, when you and I grew up, I don't know if you remember this, there was a show that was my greatest influence in what I do today. It was a show called Wild Kingdom with Marlon Perkins and Jim Fallon. That was a show every Sunday night, 7:30. I'd watch that show, and I knew what I wanted to do by watching that show. And that show taught me to respect nature, to be fascinated with nature, to want to learn more about nature. What I'm seeing today, unfortunately, is a changing trend in some of these shows. What I'm seeing are shows that tend to sensationalize nature, tend to make you afraid of wildlife, and tend to make you never want to go to a wild area in your life because you're going to get killed by something. Okay? If I see another one of these animals attack 5, or this gator boys, or this turtle man, wacko toothless guy who's jumping around and grabbing raccoons by the tail and going, "Why are you going to kill me? Don't kill me!" This is the wrong message we're sending to kids. We're sending the wrong message because kids are learning to either be afraid of something or to go in there and have some crazy rodeo and get hurt. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to show at the zoo that you can have an interactive experience with an animal while respecting the animal and learning to appreciate it. We also have the rhino encounter where you can actually touch or feed an Indian rhino. I mean, this is just a huge experience where people can have a great time. The giraffe feeding experience is probably the most popular interactive experience we have at the zoo. It's something that I first noticed more than 25 years ago on my first trip to Africa. This is outside of the city of Nairobi. They have a giraffe platform where you sit there, a giraffe come out of the bush, and school kids from Nairobi feed the giraffe. I'll never forget, I came back 25 years ago. I'll show you the original memo I gave to management back then. I said, we need to do this. What was the answer? No. Why? Too dangerous. Risk management. Absolutely not. You can't do that. Well, lo and behold, about 10 years ago, Busch Gardens said, you know what, we're going to do it anyway. We're a private institution. We'll do it. We don't have to worry about all that government stuff. And they went and did it. And they made so much flipping money that all of a sudden people at the zoo said, hey, we should do something like that. So we did it, and it's been probably the biggest success we've ever had in any interactive experience, to have these kids go up there, to be able to look at an animal face to face, to have some 16-inch tongue come out in front of your face. It makes an impression, folks. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful experience. And, I only wish we had done it sooner. Amazon and Beyond was our last huge opening. This was a $50 million exhibit, and it has everything in it. I mean, the Atlantic Forest, the Amazon, the Cloud Forest, Village Plaza, more water effects. Again, it's so important to have these water themes now in our park. We realize, especially now when it seems like every summer is getting hotter, that this is a key component in making a successful attraction for the visitors. Here you see that, we really lit this up. The plaza is made up to be basically kind of like a central plaza. If you go to any Latin American country, you'll find there's always a central plaza that tends to have a lot of color, a lot of activity going on to it. So we did a lot of that. We've got a lot of these artificial animals that people can get onto, and then we have the real ones that you don't want to get onto. Anacondas, the Orinoco crocodiles, the harpy eagle. This is probably the animal that has been my biggest influence in growing up. I knew, people always ask me what my favorite animal is, and I tell them all the time, it is the harpy eagle. That and the cheetah, the two animals that I work with quite a bit. But we've been able to do a great program with that I'll tell you about in just a second. The giant otters, these are the parents of the babies you just saw. The jaguar, the keystone animals of the Amazon are very well featured throughout the exhibit. We have a 50,000-gallon aquarium in there. That's a flooded forest. It's our first venture into having a major aquarium within the zoo, and it's phenomenal. Basically what it does is it depicts a forest after the floods. In the Amazon, the Amazon River can fluctuate up to 40 feet depending on the rainy season and the dry season. And when it floods in, you basically have a forest that's flooded, and you see the fish going through there. So we show that. The zoo is also now, we're really trying to utilize it for after-hours events, because it's a great facility. It has the potential to make money on after-hours events, and we do everything there from quinces to weddings. Here you see we had a beautiful Asian wedding there not too long ago. At night, that place transforms itself. It's a wonderful venue to have these types of events. Got a great catering company now that works there. Our new food services organization is really top-notch. For the past 20 years, the biggest single complaint we had at the zoo was always food services. Horrible lines, not good quality food. We got a new group in there, Service Systems of America, and they have really turned it around. We have really got quality food and quality food experiences, quality catering, all kinds of entertainment we have. The fire ladies, we have the toku jumpers and all that 9 yards. So it's a really great place for after-hours activities considered for your organization. We also now are getting ready to break ground for the new front entry and the Florida exhibit, which is our next major endeavor at the zoo. It's a $35 million project that basically is going to be called Florida Mission Everglades, and it's basically finally bringing us the wonders of South Florida. What we have in our own backyard to show kids. It's amazing. I go to so many schools and I talk to so many kids, and I'm amazed when I say, how many of you have been to Everglades National Park? And the majority have not been there. The majority have not been there. We take so much for granted that we have in our own backyard, and hopefully this zoo exhibit, what it's going to do, it's going to provide windows that will inspire these kids to go out and see what we have in our own backyard. Make their parents say, hey Mom, I got to go. This new front entry is going to be breaking ground. It's going to be very dynamic. I'm not going to go into all the specifics of it now, other than to tell you it is going to be dramatic. You'll be walking up, the new front entrance is going to be under like a huge cloud that'll have thunderstorms, it'll rain every now and then. The flamingo exhibit is going to be moved out to the front of the ticket booths. The ticket booths are all going to be totally redone. There's going to be bathrooms, there's going to be a gift shop, everything outside of the ticket booths, so you don't have to buy in to get to the zoo before you get a taste of the zoo. There's going to be meeting rooms, classrooms and such. It really is phenomenal. You saw those cutouts that you have in the front sign now, the front entrance sign. Well, that theme, that motif will continue as we have those cutouts walking all the way up that run. When you drive up to the zoo now, that long walk, it's going to have cutouts of animals going to the long walk. And basically what it is all the animals going up to the water hole that'll be the front entrance of the zoo. You see? So it's that all the animals go in the water hole. When you get there, the flamingos will be in the water hole, and then there'll be some cutout animals actually drinking out of the flamingo pond. It's really going to be phenomenal with this thunder and lightning and cloud thing. So it's going to be pretty incredible. There you see what it looks like. These cutout animals going through. You'll be walking up the path, zoom mining. There'll be a big beam of light going straight up where you can see it everywhere. You see, those will be real flamingos there, not cutout flamingos. But at night, you have that beacon of light coming out. I mean, it's really going to become an iconic symbol of South Miami-Dade County. The zoo will be seen from a long way away. Again, the Florida Everglades exhibit, we've done a lot of research going out to the Everglades. I've been there several times. We are wanting to duplicate this, show different windows to this incredible world that so many people take for granted. They'll have different elements within this exhibit. There'll be the plaza, there'll be the boat ride. We're actually going to do a replica of an airboat ride within the exhibit. So it's, again, people get a little nervous sometimes and say, well, I don't know what this is now. Is it a zoo or is it an attraction? Listen, to be successful, folks, we're going to have to combine both of these things. Okay? We're going to have to, and I say this with all due respect and reverence to the company, we're Disneyizing quite a bit in a lot of ways. Because it's a proven model, it works. I mean, Disney is not successful because it does things wrong. whatever you want to say, imitation is the greatest form of flattery. Well, we're going to imitate some things, but we're going to be innovative in the way we do it also. We're going to build a little fishing village within it. We're going to show all the songbirds, the wading birds, things that you go to the Everglades now, you see it all the time. These are the animals that we're going to start highlighting and making people, instead of just passing by and seeing something, really take the time to look at it and understand it and realize how important it is to what we do. All these birds will be part of the exhibit: the snowy egret, spoonbills, wood storks, pelicans, and then we're going to work with the crocodiles. There'll be a discovery lab which is going to show a great window into the reef system, into the mangroves. We'll have some reef tanks in there to show some of the fish that we find. A lot of the reptile will be featured in the Discovery Lab, including non-venomous ones like the Everglades rat snake, and then all the venomous snakes: the copperheads, the coral snake, the cottonmouth, or water moccasin, or black moccasin, all different names for that, the pygmy rattlesnake, and the diamondback rattlesnake. Then we're going to have a crocodile tunnel, which is going to be really cool because you'll be able to go through this tunnel into the crocodile pool where you actually will see the crocodile. You'll be swimming with it in the tunnel. I think that's just a great experience. We're going to have a great thing with the otters too. Florida river otters. The same thing. You go down this little otter slide, right? You're sliding through. So as you're sliding through the tunnel, you're swimming with the otter swimming right next to you. Okay? These are the types of interactive experiences that are really going to be fantastic for the kids. And then the marquee animals will be the Florida panther and the Florida black bear. And those animals will be also on display. There'll be a wonderful exhibit there where you can go into a log and actually get close to the bears, close to the panther, which I think is an iconic animal in Florida. Hopefully, if we're very lucky, we can actually reproduce these animals in captivity. There'll be a tortoise burrow. There'll be an eagle nest. You can go up and actually sit in the eagle nest. Okay, sit in the nest of a bald eagle, because bald eagles, as you know, they're monogamous animals. They nest in the same place every year, so they come back to building up the nest. Eagles that have been coming back to the same nest over 10, 15 years will have a nest that's 6 feet wide, 4 feet deep. I mean, a huge, huge nest that you can literally sit in, and that's what we want to show these folks. And then, of course, there's the alligators, which will, is the icon of the Everglades, and we'll show that throughout that exhibit also. So, and the airboat ride attraction will be part of it too. So I think it's going to be a key part of the success of the zoo, showing people what we have in our own backyard. Again, sometimes we just take things for granted when we drive by them every day, or we have them in our backyard and say, oh, we'll go take a chance, we'll go see it sometime. Yeah, we'll go see it sometime. Hopefully this inspires people to really understand the importance of it and want to see it sooner. A lot of things that happen behind us. How much time do I have?
5 more minutes.
5 more minutes, okay. A lot of things happen behind the scenes. A lot of the veterinary work that's done here. Here you see a root canal being done with our tiger. This is one of the things I want to point out to folks like yourself, because so many people come to the zoo and they just think, we put an animal out on exhibit, we feed it, we clean it, we put it back. Put it out. There's so much more to the zoo than that. All the professionals that are working behind the scenes. These are the people who you never see who deserve all the credit. The veterinarians, the staff, the zookeepers, the maintenance guys, the horticulturists. Here we're doing a physical on our gorilla JJ, who has a hypertension problem. So he has to have a physical every year so we can adjust his medications. He actually takes the same type of hypertension medications a lot of us adult males take, because it just seems to be an ongoing issue with adult male primates. So he's on his medication, and we do that whole 9 yards there. He's in La La Land, because otherwise it wouldn't work. And our veterinarians are doing all kinds of exams, doing work on them. This is the program I was telling you about, the Harpy Eagle program. I'm very proud to have been part of a program that we started in Panama over 15 years ago, where nobody knew what a Harpy Eagle was in Panama. Listen, folks, I'm here to tell you that I started working at the zoo not because I wanted to work with animals and an exhibit. I wanted to work at the zoo because I wanted to make a difference in conservation. I wanted to do something from what that show Wild Kingdom taught me. I wanted to make sure those areas are always there. For zoos to do that, we have to do much more than simply build multi-million-dollar exhibits that